Hi, I'm Nicole with bsmission.org. I was listening to a video today of somebody in the spiritual community who's been going through this journey for a long time, just like I have, and probably some of you listening to this have too. And I want to share my perspective. He was kind of talking about, the physicality of things here. And one thing that I really learned was all things are important. You know how we say, like, all lives matter, right? And then we say spirituality matters, which it does. But so does the physical. It matters. The difference between these things is not to let one overpower you versus the other. Because we obviously came here for a reason, right? Like, we came here to have these experiences. We came here to have a beautiful life or chaotic life or, whatever it is. Like, this is what our soul came in here to learn. And it was like something, just to like go back to this, in 2017 I took a trip to London, and I was in a museum, and I was just appreciating the art and the museum and the architecture of things that were over there. And I remember coming across this one where there was different inventors. And they said, some rules do matter, and there's a community that says we shouldn't have any. And it showed the difference between something that was really designed beautifully architecturally, and then it showed like somebody just kind of living out of a hut and just wants to live organically off the land. Now, not one is not more great than others, right? However, when I saw that, I thought, I appreciate beautiful architecture. Not only in the external, but on the internal, right? Like, that was the whole point of this journey for me, was to look inside to see where my ugliness was, where I was entangled in other people's stuff, and to free myself from that and become more loving, compassionate, and understanding. Now, with that said, I still appreciate beautiful architecture on the outside and the inside. I think that there is a way that I was raised where you pick up after yourself. You do these things, but you don't make them, this was really me in my spiritual journey, you don't make them more important than humanity. You don't make them more important than the quality and the richness of what our life essence is. Okay, and I think that's where some people have gotten things mixed up, is making things more important, in your mind. I got to build this business, I got to do this and that, and then you're missing out on the true gifts that are right in front of your face, which can sometimes be your family, your friends, what matters most, right? Again, it's humanity. And where is that humanity? It's inside of us. It's in our heart, right? And when you know how to show up in the world, you know how to move differently. Now, some people are going to take left turns. I took a whole lot of left turns in my life. But then I also went back and I corrected the turns that I knew. Oh, we got to change this. We got to fix this. We have to heal this, right? I went back and I was correcting where some mistakes were, what was more important. Now, I am a mother and a grandmother, about to have my 5th grandchild, and I'm a sister and a daughter and a friend, and I'm all of these things, right? And I'm a woman, and this is my lifetime, but I'm also multidimensional, and I've played a man, a woman, Mongolian, Native American, Caucasian, Middle Eastern. I'm hearing in there. I've seen her, but I never really knew what that was. I never really, even as a child, put emphasis on what I was in this body. I just knew innately, like, if you had good energy and it was safe, then I want to be around you. And if you don't, then I don't really want to be around you. So, and I didn't have a lot of self-worth when I was younger, where I have it now. So I think it's important, though we're always going to be transforming and growing and expanding in our gifts, in our talents, right? to really know the difference between quality and value and what you have to bring to the table, and really discerning, is this lifting me up and is it for my highest and greatest good? Because I know that if, for me personally, and again, this is my journey, I'm only sharing it from my experience, but if I would have actually not left my family and not have come back, right? I think I would have missed out on something that would have been extremely valuable. Because just because they weren't ready yet, I think I was the catalyst to help get them to where it is that they needed to be. You know, on my worst days through my awakening, I had to keep going to my parents' house, and I was like, why do I have to go there at this time when I feel like I'm going crazy? And I realized that it was because they were going to be going through it too. And they needed to see it firsthand. Even though it looked scary and they weren't sure, they needed to see, what does it look like when you come out the other side of that, right? You look compassionate, and you look more understanding, and you look more solid and integrated in your beingness. And when they're starting to go through it as they are, right, you can be there and say, it's okay. We all have stuff. There's no need to be jealous of anything, right? And then you realize we all have different unique gifts and talents to share and showcase to the world that can build something so much greater. The biggest thing that I also learned was when I was being triggered, it was actually teaching me something that I needed to heal. And sometimes we want to just run away from the world and not escapism, and not deal with the stuff that's coming up because we think that, you know, it's going to go away. And that's not the case. If you can stay in it and keep digging inside and really getting to the root, you have freed yourself. So when we say freedom, we want freedom. It's really freeing yourself from the prison that you've locked yourself in. Now, it doesn't mean that there isn't corrupt people out there and there aren't dark forces and there's not all those things, because there are. It exists, right? But you have the opportunity to say, how do I want to play and how do I want to show up in the world? What do I really want that to look like? You know, leaving your legacy here untainted, respected. You know, one thing I say to people is, you know, we came here to have these experiences, but then we came here to heal them. So it's not enough anymore to just be like, I experienced all this stuff, and you're trying to help people from an unhealed place. Like, now we want to be like, let's go to the other end of this and let's heal the stuff that you've experienced. That's how we clear out these fields. Right? To know that you chose to come in here to clean up some really dark stuff for some people who took some really wrong turns, right? Your soul did that, but you also have the opportunity to choose to start healing it and coming back to the truth of who you really are, right? This is what I experienced, is not who I am. So really pay attention to how it is that you're showing up in the world. What beauty you're bringing to yourself and the people around you. Are you cleaning up after yourself? Now, when I say that's such a silly thing, it's what you would tell your children. Clean up after yourself. What do I mean? Well, sometimes when people's interior homes or their cars or their something is filled with clutter, disorganized, breaking down, all these things happening, it's the universe's way of showing you what is going on inside of you, right? It's literally mimicking you and the clusterfuck that's here that wants to be cleaned up. Now, you can also go to the extreme, right? You can go so far on the other end that you're not balanced, right? Now it's OCD, right? Everything has to be clean. I'm so in the extreme. Don't touch germs. Don't do this. Don't do that. Oh my gosh, right? I can't leave the house because if I'm around these people, well, that just went to another opposite of that. And the key to this is to find balance. It's to find balance within yourself. It's to remember to respect earth, to respect yourself, and to respect other people. Now, respecting yourself and other people does not mean I need to do this because I want this person to like me, right? Like, that's not respecting yourself. If you're really honest with yourself, you just do things because you know it's the right thing to do. You do things within you because you know that this next step that I'm going to do, it's the right thing to do. And sometimes it's not always easy. My journey, it was not easy, okay? I moved into my office because I didn't financially have the money. I ended up moving out of my office. I moved in with a friend. Now, for me, this was like humiliating, right? I'm someone who really worked hard, bought a house, did all the right things, got the credit score right, did all the stuff, and realized my relationships were still a mess. You know, the universe was like, hey, we're going to go for it. And once that started, I didn't have control over how things used to be, right? Like how I thought I could do things. It was like, we're going to retrain you the right way for your energy. So when all those things were happening financially, and it took forever. And you know why it took forever? Because they knew I would have left, right? If I had the money, I would have left. I know I would have, right? I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. I'm tired of like being stripped naked of everything and taking care of my family and, you know, not understanding what's going on. But it forced me in a way, but still through my choice, right? To 1, break my pride. 2, go to my parents, find where these deeper layers are, work out these wounds. 3, heal the relationship with your sister. 4, heal the relationship, past life relationship with your son. Really see it for what it is, right? It made me stay, and I'm so glad that I did. Because our relationships are different. Because life isn't about, though I appreciate quality in the finer things in life, it's not about that. It's about your authenticity, your uniqueness, how you're showing up in the world, the love, the compassion, the understanding that you can share. It's about sitting in with your own tears, right? And just crying it out and being angry at the universe because things aren't going the way you thought they were going to go. In fact, when COVID happened, I had just finally started getting my business going after 4 years of going through treacherous terrain of healing myself and being stripped. And I thought, all right, now we're going to go. And then I was like, you got to be kidding me, right, universe? Like, this can't really be what's happening right now. But it was. And I could have participated or not. And it's just not where I am. I'm not here to fight with people. I'm not here to tear people down. I didn't do all this healing work to even be in that element. I rose out of it. I healed out of it. And it's a commitment to yourself to the fullest extent of loving yourself and loving the other person. And knowing sometimes you're not going to get it right, but going back inside and doing the inner work and healing it when you're not. And going to the person, you know, and say, hey, sorry, I acted that way, right? Really taking accountability for how you're showing up. So if things aren't ideal and you're angry and you're frustrated, pay very close attention to what it is that you're holding on to that's causing this, all right? One thing that I learned from my dad, it drove me nuts. After my mom passed, he was speaking for me. He was used to speaking for my mom. That doesn't go over well with me. You don't speak for me. Nobody speaks for me. I speak for me. I'm here in my physical body and I know how to show up for myself, right? So I called him on it, and he was like, sorry, I'm so used to doing this with your mother. So pay attention. Who are you speaking for? Because you're the only person you can speak for unless somebody else says, I give you permission to speak on my behalf. Okay? But know that if you're struggling with something, right? Like I've seen this all across the board with so many different people where they're saying everyone is going through this at this time. Well, that's not true. Not everybody is going through this at this time. Some people are already went through it and they're fine. They're on the other side of it. Some people haven't even started going through what you're doing. Some people's consciousness are so low that the thought of even what you're going through isn't even there, right? So it's really important for people to start looking at, I'm speaking for myself. This is where I am at and this is how I'm healing. Am I entangled in other people's stuff trying to fix it that doesn't even have anything to do with me, but I feel like I'm responsible for having to do that? Because that's a pattern too, right? So look at the stuff, look at it a lot deeper as to why you're doing what you're doing. Why do you feel responsible? And if you have not cleaned up your house yet, okay, internal, external, whatever, if you have not cleaned it up yet, all right, why do you feel everyone else needs to, but you do not? Everyone else needs to change so you can be happy. Now, I might not be a fan of how things are being ran here, what is going down, how people are showing up, right? But I'm the only one responsible for if I'm going to get up in the morning and put a smile on my face, go for a walk, or do whatever it is that I need to do until things start working in the direction that I want. Nobody else can do that for me, right? So start looking at what you're doing, why you're doing it, and showing up. You know, one thing that I also learned in my journey was the difference between doing something from an ego perspective and doing something just because you know it's the right thing to do. And if it's the ego perspective, chances are it's going to fall apart. It's not going to work anyways. It's just not. You know why? Because you're doing it and you're like, look how great this is going to be. It's going to be so great. And then people are going to be like, how is it going? And you have to have the reality of, yeah, it didn't work out. Right? Well, that's a hard fall. That's your ego was there and then crumbled. And then you start doing it from your spiritual self after going through this journey. And you're like, how you doing now? Like, what's going on for you now? And what I realized was my outside family or people had different expectations on, I could feel an uncomfortableness, like of what they thought should have happened for me by now, or what should have transpired. And for me, I'm like, nah, this is a spiritual journey. And I'm letting my higher self, my soul, lead the way, even when it's uncomfortable. And if this is where I'm at, then this is just where I'm at. As long as I know that every day I'm showing up to be my best self, that I'm doing the right things. The right things and the right opportunities and all those things are going to show up for me. Because I'm choosing to be my best self every single day. I respect myself. I put one step forward, right? I don't put the emphasis on, am I famous? How much money is in my bank account? Where am I? You know, all those things, they don't define me. And if they did, that's when they'll be stripped from you. So can you show up and be proud of the things that you've accomplished and you've done and not be attached to them if they come or if they go? Right? It's the attachment piece that's so important. You know, our social media is filled with screaming faces and voices and everybody wanting their message heard, which is on one hand totally beautiful and respectable. But please know that whether you're heard by one person or you're heard by millions of people, don't let any of it have power over you. Okay, just be your authentic self and appreciate the people who are listening. Appreciate the people who are being supportive. Appreciate whatever gifts you got out of the message. Appreciate those things or the gifts that you're sharing with other people from your journey and your message. Just really find the gratitude and the appreciation in it and then let it go. Stay humble. right? Stay wise, listen, stay compassionate, and keep rising out of it. Get back up. That's what I say. Things are going to come and they're going to knock you on your ass. And get back up and keep going. Keep going. You're worth it. Your family's worth it. Right? Now I had to strip myself of beliefs and emotions and entanglements with my family so I could love them deeper. Love them better. Love myself better. Be a better human being. So be mindful of all the things that you're bringing to people. And if I keep saying floundering, if you're floundering, it's so much easier to just surrender it, because you're going to soon realize that you're fighting against the stream. And once you surrender, you're going to be more at peace within yourself and trust that you're protected and you're guided. And even if some things don't make sense on this life level, on a soul level, everything that you forgive and everything that you heal and every shift that you make in that direction, that's the end game. That's the long game, right? That's what matters. So even if we don't see maybe the physical results of it yet, which I have seen a lot of the physical results of the work that I've been doing on the things that matter, right? But if you haven't, know on a soul level, it's not wasted energy. The only thing that you're wasting is the fighting against what your soul wants for you. And that's for you to be free and not tangled in a mess, in a web of stuff that is not fulfilling you and satisfying you and not lifting you up and not building a community that is worth being around. So let your light shine. Step into your uniqueness. Keep being your great self. Even when you're crying and sad and you're angry and maybe you went off on somebody, you always have an opportunity to go back and clean it up. All right. I'm Nicole with bsmission.org. Thanks for watching.